Okay. Is it fair to let the previous panelist ask a question?
They've been attacked enough.
Anybody want to
They
vote?
should be
Okay,
able to
come on, Steve.
respond.
This is probably going to be the last question.
No, please, please.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to be on your panel.
I'll bet. I can't help but think there's a certain contradiction that I would like you to help me resolve. And it's a contradiction that I've been involved in these debates very often. And that is, on the one hand, God has created us as rational, intelligent creatures who can understand what is true, pursue the good, enjoy beauty, and find out all kinds of things about the world. But on the other hand, when it comes to economics, no one has the ability to understand and plan ahead, so we're better to use voluntary preference and not sort of get in the way of unintended consequences, because using rationality and planning to achieve the good will do more harm than simply leaving it up to market preference. And that seems to me to be a kind of contradiction. Maybe I have it wrong, but I've never quite understood that.
Yeah, you do have it wrong. Or at least what you've done is you've shifted the focus of the whole thing. When you started out, you said that God made us rational. Why can't we believe that rational people can plan? They can. Let them do it. That's the point. The contention is that by collectivizing this and presupposing that some synoptic committee who sees every need and can organize society to meet that need, that they know better than people expressing their personal, subjective, knowledgeable preferences at local levels. I think the question is the resource of first resort when there is need in society the government or the person and the family and the community? And all I'm not saying there shouldn't be a government. I'm saying that we should not allow the presumption to be that the government is that resource of first resort. If I'm hungry, I have the first responsibility to feed myself. And if I have a failure, I'm ill or handicapped or whatever it happens to be, then my family, most proximate to me because they know me the best. And then if there's a failure of the family, then I'm describing the principle of subsidiarity. And the principle of subsidiarity says two things. The government has the obligation to intervene when there are failures at these local levels, but then it should not presume to be a permanent institution. It should remove itself once that society functions again. And that goes to the other question of how do we reconstitute a society where other people see the imago Dei in the life and in the lives of other people. It's by letting people be proximate. But when we don't have to be proximate to the poor anymore, when we say, well, the government does that, then I think we destroy the culture and respect for solidarity.
I love this question. We believe that God created human beings as rational, volitional beings. But being a rational being doesn't mean that you know everything. In order to plan, you have to make use of some knowledge that comes to you by irrational means. For example, we couldn't do anything without language. Language was acquired irrationally. Prices are irrational. If you suppress the pricing mechanism, you're going to inhibit everybody's ability to plan, and you're just going to ruin the economy. But there's the other side of that, too. We're volitional beings. And the problem with putting planning in the hands of the state as opposed in the hands of individuals, families, and the elements, lower, fundamental, basic elements of civil society, is that you are taking away people's freedom of association and freedom of action. We have to be free to choose. Now, again, I'm not making an anarchist argument here. I'm not saying there's, nothing that should be forbidden by the state. I'm just saying that has to be just on an absolutely necessary basis. The more you can allow people to make their own choices, the more prosperity you're going to have. And the less that you allow people to make their own choices, the less morality you're going to have, by definition. Because if everybody were forced to be good, nobody would be good.
All right. Oh,
Well, yeah, I don't know how to, thank you for the kindness, but it's a deep question, actually, and it gets at the thing I was trying to mention earlier about the fact that government versus market, government versus market. There are a lot of problems markets can't solve. Markets are really good at solving things where you can make money. Not every problem is solved by things that make money. It's just absurd to think that's the case. It's not, markets don't solve the problem of poverty right now. They do have a huge impact over time, right? But the real issue, I think, is that when you talk about the imperfection of human beings, which, let me say it differently, one of the worst things in economics is the idea of that we're, quote, rational. We're obviously rational in the sense that we try to figure stuff out, and we obviously fail most of the time. Then the question is, now what? Do we allow someone to decide for us, or do we get help from other people? How much do we decentralize through the market, through the price system? How much do we decentralize through charity? And how much do we have to centralize through government and taxation? So I don't think in theory there's any difference between the way you and I see the world. It's not like, oh, I think markets solve everything and you don't. That's a straw man. Markets are flawed. Markets lead to, not markets, decentralized decision-making is terribly flawed. Everything is terribly flawed, right? You don't want to put in opposition to the market the decentralized solution, the one where everything goes great, where I've imposed the good things that we all agree on. That's not available as a choice. So we have to deal with the reality on both sides. Markets are flawed, government's flawed, charities are flawed, they don't have a measurable output, they waste a lot of money. They're all flawed. The question is, for any one problem, you can make a case that some things are better than others. But I don't accept the argument that, oh, I think everything works out great with the market, even though people are flawed and stupid. They are stupid. They make mistakes all the time. We know that. The question is, what's the most effective way to allow people to flourish? And that's a really hard question to answer. I tend to head toward the leave it alone, but I'm not an anarchist, and I do think we need government for lots of things. And you might tend to be more toward we need to intervene here and here because it's not working very well. And then the question is what actually happens in practice, not just in theory. Because we both have nirvanas that we think are possible with our perfect world of perfect markets or perfect government. They don't exist.